Okay, so I have in here -4 times a times c, so 2 times -7, and this is all over 2 times 2, or 2 times a. So I'm going to start simplifying. 0 squared would be 0, so I really need to just go through and do -4 times 2 times -7. So I would have -0 plus or minus the square root, and that would be 56 divided by 4. So I'm going to break apart into two problems. So x equals 0 plus square root of 56 divided by 4. And make sure you hit enter after you put in square root of 56 before you divide by 4, or your calculator will probably give you the wrong answer. So 0 minus square root of 56 divided by 4. So I end up with x equals, I rounded, but 1.87, and x equals -1.87. Okay, so if we set up the next problem, everything is on one side, so I can go ahead and get started. A is 1, B is -8, and C is 16. So -8 plus or minus the square root of -8 squared minus 4 times A times C, and that's all over 2 times A, so 2 times 1. So I'm going to go ahead and start simplifying. So -8 would actually be a +8, plus or minus, and then -8 squared is +64, and then I need to take -4 times 1 times 16, and I'm going to get -64 over 2. So if I simplify that again, I end up with 8 plus or minus the square root of 0 over 2. Square root of 0 is 0, so I would have x equals 8 plus the square root of 0 divided by 2, and x equals 8 minus the square root of 0 divided by 2. Either way, I'm going to get the same answer, which is x equals 4. So on this problem, I only end up with one answer. Okay, so on the next problem, starting out, I need to actually add 1 over to the other side. So I'm going to end up with 3x squared minus 5x plus 1 equals 0. So A is 3, B is -5, and C is 1. So I'm going to plug that into the formula. So I'm going to have a -5 plus or minus the square root of -5 squared minus 4 times A times C. So 3 times 1, and that's all over 2 times 3. So I'm going to start simplifying. -5 would be +5 plus or minus the square root, and then -5 squared would be 25. And then I need to take -4 times 3 times 1. So that is a -12, and that would be over 2 times 3, which is 6. So I'm going to simplify one more time. 5 plus or minus square root of 13 over 6. So I'm going to split this apart. So x equals 5 plus square root of 13 divided by 6, or x equals 5 minus square root of 13 divided by 6. So I end up getting x equals 1.43, or x equals 0.23 if I'm rounding. Okay, on the next problem, I would choose to move over 7x in negative or in +2, and that would make this, because you don't really ever want to start out with x being negative. So I would have 4x squared minus 7x minus 2 equals 0. So if I plug this into my formula, -7 plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c. So 4 times -2 all over 2 times 4. Okay, so start simplifying. -7 is +7 plus or minus -7 squared is +49, and then -4 times 4 times -2 is a +32, divided by 2 times 4, which is 8.